time being 6 o'clock, I'm going to call the Oxford School Committee meeting to order. Today is Monday, November 28th. We are here at the Chafee Elementary School. Thank you, Mr. Yvonne, for hosting this meeting for us. We do appreciate it. The building looks great, as always, and we thank you for allowing us in this evening. Before I start the meeting, our regular meeting, I'm going to make an announcement, and we're going to have a moment of silence for Larry Donovan, who is the father of former committee member Pat DeWidzik and the husband of Barbara Donovan, who passed away over the Thanksgiving holiday. We extend our sympathy to the entire Donovan-DeWidzik family and the grandchildren that have all been students of the Oxford Public Schools. So I'd like to have a moment of silence, please, for the Donovan family. Thank you. Our thoughts are with you, Pat. Thank you very much, everybody. Before Ryan has his moment in the sun here, I was given I thought it was an honor for me to be a judge at the Lions Club essay contest last Monday night at the Colonial Restaurant out in Webster. And Ryan and Allie Scarborough were both chosen to read an essay of a teacher who most influenced their life so far. And Ryan was the winner, and we'll go on to the next round, December 7th. I think you're going to go to Leicester Senior Center, I believe it is. It was a very good night. It was a very hard decision to choose between you and Allie. You both did a very good job. And Mr. Peterson, being a Lion, was there also. And I think that he can also say it was a very nice night, but it was tough for us judges. It was Sean Collins from Senator Moore's office and Jean Mazurka from Hometown Bank. So congratulations, Ryan.
Thank you.
Go on to the next round, and you let us know how you do.
Right.
So, and I will give you the floor, sir.
Okay, thanks. Not a whole lot tonight. I'm going to start off with Student Council. A group of 20 of us went to the fall conference for the Central District Student Council in Massachusetts at Worcester North High School on November 18th. It was a lot of fun. We had some really good informational workshops and a great motivational speaker. We're holding our annual coffee house on December 14th in the community room, I believe at 7. I'm not sure if we've determined a time yet, but it's a great opportunity to come and listen. For the most part, it's music by other talents. It's like a mini talent show. This past Monday, the Monday before Thanksgiving, we held our 4th annual turkey run, and it was a really great turnout. We had 51 baskets made from groups throughout the school, and it's always great to do that. It's great to give back to our community.
Would you like to tell who the winners of the turkey run were?
I believe the winners were the school committee with over 400 points, I
You
think.
better believe it.
Yeah, so they did a great job with that. And finally, we just wrapped up our Lilies for a Lily fundraiser, which was a fundraiser that we asked for donations throughout the school for a grandchild of a staff member who has Pompe syndrome, and we raised $325 with that, which is more than what we really wanted, so it's good. It's awesome. Best Buddies, we had our students versus the teachers basketball game last Tuesday, and it was a great turnout, and the teachers won, to the disappointment of the students. And in the near future, we'll be having our Christmas party, which is always a lot of fun. And sports, we have football lost against Auburn on Thanksgiving, 7-41, and their final record is 3-8. And I'm not sure if I had mentioned it at a previous meeting, but I just wanted to bring up the fact again that our varsity field hockey team had an 18-0 season this year, so they did an awesome job. Basketball tryouts for girls were today, and tryouts for boys are tomorrow. And winter indoor track is starting up soon. There's not a lot of information up there right now because it's just getting, all the stuff's just getting started.
Okay.
That's about all I have.
Very good. What time is the coffee house? When does that start?
I think it's 7. It's either 6 or 7.
Okay.
I'm not sure because we haven't finalized everything yet, but it's 6 or 7. I will let you know.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Ryan, very much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. Have a
Madam Chair,
good night.
Before he leaves.
Yes, yes, sir.
I had it on my school committee notes time, but you brought it up. I'd like to also congratulate Ryan. I will be attending the next round with you as a member of the Lions Club. Ryan now will be representing Oxford's Lion Club, not just the school, but the Lions Club at District 33A for the next reading. So congratulations, Ryan. It was an impressive night.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
Thank you. Now we'll go on to our regular business. Our approval, please, of minutes from November 14th. Any comments or corrections in regard to these minutes? Have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Second,
Make sure I
please.
was here on this
Second.
one.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
4 affirmative, 1 abstention. Thank you. The next is discussion of the subcommittees. I'll start with this and have Mr. Himmelberger add his comments. As we discussed at the last meeting, there's some subcommittees that we want to either activate or reactivate. One of them is the policy committee, because we do have quite a few different policies that need some change in language and some updating. And we have a new policy coming into the district tonight regarding the concussion. Mrs. Ravelli and Mrs. Coonan have both volunteered their time to review policy. If there is anyone, Mr. Himmelberger, on our administrative side or teachers, any staff that are willing, if you could bring it to your admin council at your next meeting, so we could have some input from them. One of the other policies that we were looking into is the change of our calendar and/or changing of any of our school vacation times. I think Mr. Anderson had some interest in that. I don't know if
Yes, I do.
you like to serve on that?
Yes,
That's
I
great,
would.
that's great, okay. Mr. Anderson will serve on that committee. Mr. Peterson, are you willing to go into that committee? I know you're on wellness, and
You know, well, wellness won't take up that much time for now, for the rest of your, I'll
you were great,
go with
okay.
that.
That's great. And again, Mr. Himmelberger, we'd like some input from our faculty in regard to that vacation calendar policy. Or I shouldn't say policy, I shouldn't call it that yet. Discussion and recommendation that they send forth to us.
Because I believe we'd have to forward that to the policy committee, Madam Chairman, from
Yes,
there. so.
yeah. And just so we could get some information and some background, that would be very good. And those two, I think, are the hottest ones that maybe we could start off with right now. The communication, I was going to ask our policy committee to look into a communication, whether it be a draft of something from maybe another district, but how do they handle all kinds of communication, emergencies, snow days, the use of their all page. What else would we have? If there is a passing within the school family, how do we send that information out? Different things like that. So I think that would be another policy to look at. But I'm going to have Mrs. Coonan and Mrs. Ravelli kind of take the key to that. All right. Anything else on any other? Mr. Himmelberger, do you have anything on any subcommittees? Anyone else from the committee have any other ideas they'd like to put forth and we could discuss? This is a good kickoff point? Okay, very good, thank you. Wellness Committee report. Pat Hokinson is here tonight, and you're going to share with us your report from your subcommittee
Yep.
that Mr. Peterson also has a seat on. If you could just do me a favor, Pat, and just tell us who's on the committee.
Sure. We had
have you sit over here.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had some parents, we had Rhonda Donnie as a parent, and we have, within the system, 2 college
Turns.
interns. Kaylee and Brianna were both on it. Mr. Hillmanberger was there. Katie Sheehan, Sandy Rivet, and Linda Forty was there. One of the big discussions that we had, it ended up being, was getting into a little bit more of nutrition education. We purchased some posters and we've put those out so the kids could see them from the, they changed from the pyramid to my plate, so it gives the kids something to visually look at. In portion sizes, we've got some posters on that we're putting in so the kids could see them. And I have a meeting Wednesday with the 2 interns. We're gonna try and do a fruit and veggie taste for the
Oh, yeah.
preschool and kindergarten kids. Right now, we do it at middle school, and it's great. The kids love it down there. We wanna try and go a little bit younger to introduce them to fruits and vegetables. So we're working on that. That was about it. We're gonna plan a meeting for after the holidays and get that going. And while I was here, I wanted to just let you know on the new guidelines that are coming up. We will be all set with all of them pretty much. They're almost all in line now. I think the biggest one that we're gonna have a hard time with is they're gonna do away with chocolate milk. I think that's gonna be a toughie. But we really don't have a
Are they
choice on
keeping
it.
strawberry milk?
No flavored milk at all.
No flavored milk at all, okay.
Unless they can have a
Okay.
flavored milk with the same calories as white milk.
Okay.
Milk companies aren't too happy about that. The sodium isn't gonna be too big of an issue because we're one of the very few schools in Massachusetts that scratch cooks. A lot of them don't scratch cook, so that won't be too bad for us. And that's about it that we have. I do want to thank you for putting the charge policy in place that you did quite a few years back. It is now part of the school lunch program that every school has to have it. And we're keeping a pretty tight lid on it. So that was a good
Everything's-
thing to do.
It's working?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, we still owe a little bit, but it's not like it was.
okay,
And
excellent.
we were one of the first schools that did it, actually, and everybody has followed suit.
Okay. Where is this information? Is there any information regarding these changes?
I have some here, actually.
Do you send it home?
I'm going to send a letter
Okay.
home at the end of the year.
Okay,
Yeah, and I can make up these if you want, I can leave these for you.
sure, well, they'll take a
So the
copy.
changes are for the next school year?
Some of them are in place now,
Okay.
some of them will be in place next year, and then the final one, the federal government's still working on them, will be in place for the following school year. And they keep changing their minds, so,
Really?
yes.
Shocking.
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yeah, unfortunately, Pat is saying they change their minds constantly, but I attended the one session, Pat, and I have some information for you from the Cape on the wellness sessions that we had down at convention. And the chocolate milk was the biggest thing that people are still, there's no way they figured out how to keep it in there yet. And like Mr. Anderson said, it's only 1%. That's the fat content. It has nothing to do with the sugar and the calorie, the caloric intake, which they're trying to control. So the only way they can do it is eliminate the chocolate or the flavored milks altogether. There was also a session, Mrs. Wilkinson, on the local farm buying and things, and the federal guidelines. And those local farmers all have to be approved now by the FDA in order for it to come into your school system or the product being used, like, I shouldn't even say it, but like our Civic, our local farm. In other words, if we wanted to buy something from them, there are guidelines, they have to be approved by the federal government before we can use their product or bring it in off the street.
So it's something they have to go and do?
This is something new now. I mean, this local growers has been available, we've been able to buy, but us being out here don't have the, one of the presenters was from the Whately area, where the big farm co-ops and things are, as far as vegetables and things of that nature. Whately, Deerfield, Sunderland, in that area was the school system that's using local farmers daily. And so there are some new guidelines. I'll get you that information. I have it in my packet at home.
Okay.
But I'll prepare it for the rest of the school committee also. And I think that you might want to take a look at that at the next wellness meeting. So if you could let me know well enough in advance, because I can't get there at 1 o'clock in the afternoon ever for a meeting, so,
Okay,
okay?
sure.
Yeah, very good, thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Steve. Mr. Anderson.
The chocolate milk, was that true milk? Wasn't that a skim milk?
It is skim milk.
You're
It's
missing the
the-
point.
it's the
That's the
sugar
fat
in it.
content. It has nothing to do with the
Yeah.
caloric or the sugar intake. It's twice as much as regular 1% milk, white milk.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Mr.
that's-
Anderson.
that's gonna be a
1%,
tough one.
Mr. Anderson.
No, I don't do chocolate milk, but I know the kids do.
The fat, I understand that.
That's
The fat
100% here almost.
content. You're missing the whole point. The 1% you're talking about is fat content, saturated fat.
Anything else from the committee? Any other comments, questions? Thank you very much, Pat, for your report. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Why do I have so many? This came out back. Did you get one?
Yeah.
In our packets, we have the concussion policy. This came from MASC and MASs. Mr. Hillenberger.
Thank you, Mrs. Ennis. I just wanted to give this to the committee. As we know, all districts have to have a policy in place for January 1st, 2012, even though we needed to begin implementing some of this for the 11-12 school year. Obviously, with what goes on at the professional level with concussions has now, it's been proven that we have to be very careful with our student athletes. And anyone who participates in extracurricular activities is covered by this policy. As you can see, the small print is the original Code of Mass Regulations 105 from the Department of Public Health, and that is the genesis for this policy. The draft, as you can see, is fairly generic. A head injury and concussion policy, and it's in accordance with the CMR from DPH, and it's very specific in terms of who has responsibility: the students, the parents, coaches, athletic director, district, school nurses, and there's a lot to it. And certainly, we do have another meeting scheduled the second Monday in December, and if the committee chose, they could certainly spend some time reading, because there's an awful lot in here. It doesn't have to be approved this evening, but certainly can be, or on the next meeting in December. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Oh, one more thing. We have been instituting this policy as a matter of course, because we are required to report this for this school year, and we just needed to make to have an official policy so that we can make sure that all folks know that the district does have a concussion and head injury policy that conforms to the state regulations.
Who does it get reported to? Does it go right to the Department of Public Health?
It doesn't really spell it out here. I'm going to say it probably goes to the MIAA as well as DPH.
Okay.
I'm not sure if DESC would probably be interested as well, but it seems like that's where it'll go. But they did want us to start reporting it effective this school year.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Mrs. Conan.
I suggest that we waive the reading and adopt as policy, given that the DPH is requiring this for January 1st.
Is there going to be a motion?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr.
It takes
Peterson.
2 readings, so not to, for Mrs. Coonan, please waive both readings. I think this is well-written, it came from where it needs to come from, but I would like to waive the first reading and the second reading and make a policy. Can you include that in your,
We
because it
could
takes
just
2
adjust
readings.
the
Adjust the
motion.
motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is that everybody?
No.
You're not gonna, you know, okay. We have 4, accept,
Could I hear why? Because maybe we should waive the first reading and go to
Well-
the policy for the next meeting then.
Because from reading through this and looking at the requirements, the biggest concern I have is the training program. How are we doing it? How are we implementing it?
Our specific training program or their training program in the
Our
document?
training program, we have to have a training program, and I did not see that here, and I mean, I quickly went through it, so I would like time to go through it again. or is there a training program in there? Maybe we can have some discussion on it. Because as a parent of 2 students,
I understand.
I signed one off, but I was never trained.
Mr. Peterson?
As far as this is concerned, again, I would like approval of the document. We can discuss the training program and establish or revise our training program and let them report back to us and deal just specifically with training, if that's the only issue
Well, that's the only issue that comes to my mind
right now. All right.
You know, I mean, I'd like a chance to read through it. but-
Because this does not set a type, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
this does not establish a particular training program per school, per se.
It
It
didn't
just
even
says you
mention
have to
it.
have one.
Right, it didn't mention it, it says who needs to be trained.
Right, and that
But-
you need a training program, but it does
Right,
not
but in our
establish.
policy,
Okay,
it doesn't state anywhere, or unless it states somewhere, you can point that out to me.
no, I'm
Um,
sorry.
Because I missed it, but it doesn't, you know, I mean, do we have to? I would say if it's going to be a policy, then shouldn't the policy state how we're going to meet the requirements?
Mr. Himmelberger?
I don't know, I mean, am I being too picky here?
No, no, not at all, Mrs. Ravelli. It's very important to note that the way the regs are worded, yes, our coaches, our trainers, our athletic director and nurses have to go through.
Our band director.
And a band director.
Band director
Our
needs
band
to go
director,
through
our
that
parents.
training. Parents and students have to, on that form that was sent home, there is the online training via the website that's listed on that form that goes home, and it doesn't mandate, but by signing it, both student and parent are saying that they are familiar with it. So it's not, it's somewhat like within the bullying policy where, you know, you say that you understand this, but there's no direct mandated reporting. And the same is here. Parents and students have to, can avail themselves of that, but the form that is sent home and then signed in return is what complies with the regulation as they're written. The other thing too, I'll just mention, is that I know that several districts have set their policy with the anticipation that they will probably revisit it in the spring as the DESC weighs in on their own additions to the policy. So I would think that most districts are scrambling to meet the January 1st deadline. However, there will be some additional amending in the spring.
Mr. Peterson, then Mr. Anderson.
I totally agree with you, Mrs. Rebelli, and it's taken some time. I have fought for this for years. And I even at one time tried to specifically get it for our coaches. And they bucked it through the union because they were afraid of the responsibilities that they would incur. So at most of our major events, we have ambulance, EMTs, which other schools do not have. And we've gone deeper into that at lesser, I shouldn't say lesser, but more sporting events other than just basketball or football, right? Track, they're there, anything outside like that. The thing with this is the MIAA is good at establishing, similar to the state, policies, rules, and regulations with no one to report to and no one to enforce it. It's like if we have an infraction, we call the MIAA and their answer to you is, well, you enforce it, set the penalties or whatever you have to do. They never will set their foot down and come back and enforce something for you, unfortunately. I do agree with you, Mrs. Ravelli. This is only probably about the second step in this process. At least if we get the policy on paper, now we can start establishing proper training for the individuals that are needed to have this, which we couldn't before.
Which we could addend the policy
Right,
at any time.
exactly, to fit our needs.
Mr. Anderson?
On the trainers, I know that Sherry Bemis is a paramedic and fire chief, and Kenny Sellers. And we do have training for CPR training to be certified in the school department. I'm just wondering if there's any way that Sherry could possibly put a class on about this herself. I imagine she's well trained in concussions and everything else, as long as Kenny and the other paramedics that are on.
That's a good idea.
Maybe we could get a hold of Sherry to run a class for us, and everybody else would be interested in it.
There is, once now we establish our policy, then you can bring whoever you need in, our own local people to do the training, yes.
That's a good idea, I like that idea. Mr. Himmelberger?
The other thing I would mention too is that if the committee desires, maybe we could have our athletic director here at an upcoming meeting as well, to really give us the purpose and the intent and how we have, what we have done to this date and how he intends to implement going forward.
I
Yeah,
think we
because
would
he's attending
appreciate
some of
that.
these meetings with Mo
Yeah.
Hancock also at the same time with the MIA.
All right, we do have a motion, we do have a second to at least accept the document, which now we know the document can be addended at any time, especially in regards to this training. I think it's a very good idea that we have our superintendent reach out to Chief Bemis and ask her for her guidance along any kind of training, because as we know, she knows what she's, she knows her stuff really well, and she's great. I've seen her in action training, and she is awesome. So,
And our
and what?
athletic director.
Yes, yeah, and our athletic director, definitely, so we can hear exactly what it is that they've done on the coaching side and the athletic side. Yes, Mr. Peterson?
The MIA also has a team that goes around if need be. They could work with us as well. There are two
Okay.
people that are trained that go school to school, not only to speak on this, but do the training, that they might be able to work with Sherry on at the same time also,
Okay.
as to what their intent of the policy is also.
Okay. I'm going to ask for a vote now on the motion. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Okay. 4 affirmative, 1 no. The motion passes. Nothing else on subcommittees. I don't have any correspondence. Mr. Himmelberger?
I just had a couple of quick items, Madam Chair. One is, I wanted to thank Mr. Triano for following us around the last 3 meetings, and as usual, does a wonderful job keeping all the information on camera. And he had asked me just to let folks know that due to our administration central office relocating, Channel 13 is off the air, but we anticipate that once we relocate to the community center, it will be back up. But in the meantime, it is rebroadcasting school committee meetings on Channel 11 until further notice, which I anticipate would be just one more meeting potentially, and then once we turn the calendar into next year, we'll be back on 13. The other thing I wanted to mention was Ryan had brought up the turkey run and the winners, and I just had to let everyone know that it's very easy to find what's wrong with folks and with students, and the students at Oxford High School put their heart and soul into getting behind this drive. We have over 120 families in this town that use the Oxford Food Shelf every week, and they got behind this turkey run, and really they waited to make sure that and thanks to the DPW for the use of the trucks to transport an awful lot of food. I wish we could have waited over to the food shelf, and then they went over to the food shelf and unloaded it, and it was 3 trucks full of complete dinners as well as additional food. And I just wanted to let everyone know that they can be very proud of their students at the high school. And a special thank you to Mrs. Spitz for coordinating all of this again. Each year we've been able to do better than the year before because we have to. The need is so great. So a very special thank you to all involved. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I would like, Mr. Himmelberger, for you to please draft a letter of thanks to Steve Esposito and his crew at the Department of Public Works. They were great. We filled, what, I think it was 2 dump trucks
They were
and
dump
1
trucks, yeah.
pickup. And the kids, you're right, that it was I was a little overwhelmed because you see, some of these people we know, they're our neighbors, and it was a very, from the heart, giving, it being Thanksgiving, but it was from the heart, and all the kids really did do a great job. So if we could have that letter, and you can sign it on behalf of the committee, that's fine with us. just so that they know that their time was appreciated.
Will do.
Thank you very much. Our business manager is not here this evening. I think he's enjoying his nuptials. I hope, right? Isn't he?
Mr. Matthew did get married over the weekend, and our congratulations.
Congratulations to Mr. Matthew and the new Mrs. Matthew. Very
Whichever
good.
should apply.
He'll be back soon.
We'll send him a sympathy.
That's good.
Send some card as well, so congratulations.
Who said that?
What is that? No, we're not gonna do that. From our school committee members, I'll start tonight with Mrs. Ravelli.
Oh, nothing tonight.
Nothing tonight.
I hate to say that, nothing.
I do too. I like to hear
I
what you have on your
think that,
mind.
It's been a busy week. Nothing tonight.
Thank you. Mrs. Coonan?
Just a quick, although Ryan has left, but congratulations. I've got to find out who his teacher that he talked about was later. Oh, great, awesome.
Now you know.
Now I know, I don't have to find out. And thank you, Mr. Yvonne, for hosting us this evening. It's always a pleasure to walk in the hallways and read the children's artwork and what their favorite food is and their favorite animal, which one was a llama, I learned today. So I was mightily impressed.
Yeah.
So, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Peterson?
Yes, for Mrs. Coonan's information, it was Mrs. Tabral.
Thank you.
I can never say it, I'm
Taborda.
sorry.
Taborda.
I know her by her maiden
The art
name.
teacher.
All right, so I know.
Mrs. Taborda, yes.
Another student along with Darcy over here, so it's, I won't give her maiden name, right? But again, I too want to thank Ryan, he did a great job. And especially for the turkey run along with Mrs. Spitz. You all touched on it, we had 3 dump trucks, not pickup trucks worth of stuff, that was amazing. And I did go over and escort the students to the food shelter. We got there, they just stood stunned, they were overwhelmed, they weren't quite sure what they were going to do with it. They didn't really have a big enough freezer or cooler for some of it, but it was all being distributed within the next couple hours, so it didn't matter. The turkeys that were given had probably take a day to thaw out anyway, so it didn't matter. They just stood in awe, they couldn't believe it, and I want to thank them at the food shelter for what they do on an ongoing basis, but to be able to accommodate and take in the amount of product that we took over to them was unbelievable. You had touched on Channel 13, thank you. And the only other thing is, again, sympathies to the Donovan family. And Barbara is currently still an employee with us, Mrs. Ennis.
Yes,
Just so that,
yes, I know that.
Sue is too, the other daughter.
Julie
Yeah.
also.
Right, there are other family members that are still employees, as well as retired school committee member Pat. So, again, my sympathies to the Donovan family, and I guess that's about it for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Well, with Mark retiring a couple of weeks ago, I overlooked something that happened at Clara Barton School, which was Steve Baroni, the principal there, had a rocket club. And I happened to be home that day, and I see about 200 people outside, and I said, what's going on? And I see these things flying up in the air, and I went up with my granddaughter, and these kids were having a great time, and I was talking to parents, and they had a guy come in and put rockets together, and all the kids were outside shooting the rockets, and it brought back a lot of memories for me, and I'm very impressed. I thought that was great for Clara Barton School and all the kids and Steve. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, that's good. And I have nothing this evening. Shocking. We are going to have executive session tonight. It will be, I'm sorry, I'll open the floor. Anybody? Close the floor. And we will have executive session this evening. It will be the purpose to conduct strategy in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. Yes, sir.
I just looked at this, Mrs. Ennis, and I'm going to excuse myself from this executive session because it deals with Mr. Himmelberger and Jay Laporte, and Jay Laporte makes my contract along with Mr. Himmelberger, and I will not be involved in this.
And just note that, please, for the record, Darcy. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. We are now going to, I don't think we're going to have a vote, but I am going to adjourn with the possibility of coming out for a vote just in case. Okay? So now I'd like a motion to go into executive session, please.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We'll call for the vote. Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Ravelli? Mrs. Coonan?
Yes.
And I vote yes. And I will mark Mr. Anderson as an abstention at this time. Thank you. We are now in executive session. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good evening.
You? Thank you.
Thanks, Pat, for coming in.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Jason.